pretty cool. So we are going to we're going to update our film flowers such that when we click on any of these, our film flowers are going to animate, they're going to update and animate accordingly. So actually you can't quite see the animation right now because they're so far down. So let me bring it up here so that you can see it. So as we kind of filter around our PG-13 films, and then so we filter down by this, and then maybe we're only curious about the action films, and so we filter everything else out, and that's what it looks like. And so I think hopefully it will be quite a fun exercise. And in terms of like practical application, I actually think this filtering is very kind of practical in our data visualizations because that means you probably won't have flowers in your data visualizations or charts, but if you imagine these as like a line chart or what a scatter plot or maybe even something more exotic, but whatever your visualization is, being able to handle these sort of filtering will really help with whatever data exploration tool you're trying to provide, or maybe some whatever story you're trying to tell. And so to be able to do this, we're going to do the exercise in two parts. The first part being that we're going to use the new way with drawing to update all of our flowers every time the movies are filtered. And the second is that once we have that, we'll break off and do that exercise, and then we'll come back and we'll do part 2 where we add animations so that on every update you see the flowers fading in when they're entering, moving to their new positions when they're updating, and fading out if they're exiting. And a few notes about some click on one of these checkboxes, I have this filter function running, and this one says to filter to only keep the movies that we have the genres checked for and the parental guidance ratings checked for. So this is what this big function is doing. And as of right now, with these filters, we have 109 of the movies out of 135. If we do that, we have 34 of the movies. And then here we're saying, okay, and then take that set of filtered movies and run that through our function. And then finally, we're going to use that filtered flowers array in our cell when we're creating our flowers. And I'm not sure if I explained this before, but there's a lot of heavy lifting that Observable is doing. appear for our exercise is also dependent on the filtered flowers. So every time the filtered flowers update, our cell reruns. And if at any time this dependency chain confuses you, then you can take a look here, and it shows you the current cell that you're in, and all of the things that it's dependent on or is dependent on it. So I wanted to mention that before you get started on the exercise, because I wanted to put that little bit in to say that if we were to implement the scope of this workshop, but because we're an observable, we get to do this, and disclaimer to say that when we do that, we won't be able to do kind of this filtering update, but we'll do something, we'll do everything up until this point.
Since exit and enter correspond to different rect elements, shouldn't the order of execution be irrelevant?
Yes, so the order of execution is irrelevant when it is simply rectangle elements, and there's nothing nested in there. But it was that I had worked out this logic a long time ago, and I can't quite remember it anymore. But I think there's a few edge cases where the order does matter, like what gets removed. And I think that edge case was if you have like group elements, and then things within those group elements. But I can't quite remember. With the lesson. Yeah. So that was a great question.
Then do you have any advice for D3 and React?
Yes. Okay. So I was going to mention this briefly at the end of our workshop, but I do have another workshop on front-end masters. Maybe you can skip around the parts that we've already covered here. But yes, you can definitely use React and D3 together. It does fight each other a little bit, and I think I cover that in the workshop also. And I'll have a little bit of bonus content for this workshop at the very end, where I talk about using Vue and D3 together, because I actually haven't used React with D3 in like 2 years, because I started picking up Vue, and I find that with Vue, it's Act in about 2 years. So maybe there's a lot of things that have updated since then and have made it much friendlier to use for with D3 and data visualization.